Tonight, calling attention to the encampment eviction plan.
Just because a government has ambition doesn't mean that they get to railroad over anyone's human rights.
Canada's federal housing advocate sends the region a letter about the homelessness crisis, making their pitches for a city council seat.
That is the kind of councillor Ward 6 deserves, and that is the kind of councillor I will be.
The long list of hopefuls and the impending decision.
Remember that we're put in the awkward position of selecting a colleague rather than electing one.
At Guelph City Hall. Ozzy's impact on Waterloo Region.
Ozzy, I remember, came out across the stage, shook hands.
Memories of local encounters with the Prince of Darkness.
It was just the two of us in the hall, and at the far end of the hall, Ozzy Osbourne and his manager come walking out.
As the world looks at his legacy. Good evening. The region of Waterloo is being urged to rethink its plan to evict people living at an encampment in downtown Kitchener. Canada's federal housing advocate says the plan for the future of the site is no excuse to, in her words, railroad people's rights. The region says it's doing everything it can to find a solution. CTV's Jeff Pickle reports.
The notice has been given. The region of Waterloo needs everyone off 100 Victoria Street by December 1st. The regionally owned property is set to be used as a staging ground for the long-awaited downtown transit hub. But in an open letter to Region of Waterloo Council, Canada's first federal housing advocate says not so fast.
Just because a government has ambition doesn't mean that they get to railroad over anyone's human rights.
The federal housing advocate is a non-elected official tasked with keeping governments in line when it comes to housing. Marie-Josée Houle says the region's plan to evict falls short of its human rights obligations.
Even though municipal governments don't have all the resources, the financial resources and the powers really to address all the systemic factors contributing to homelessness, they are still, like all other orders of government, on the hook really for obligations to respect, protect and fulfill human rights.
The region says they are working closely with encampment residents, saying in a statement this includes regular supports provided by outreach staff, connections with Ontario Works caseworkers, providing regular cleaning and maintenance of the site, hiring pest control, portable washrooms, lighting and other health and safety interventions. And they say between April the 16th and July 2nd, the region supported 13 people off the site who were residing there prior to April 16th, 2025. Houle says the open letter was not done to name and shame the region.
It's not just about pointing out to the region of Waterloo that they're bad and that they're in violation of human rights. It really is about hoping to engage with them, hoping that they will respond.
The region says they are waiting on direction from the Ontario Superior Court whether or not they can move ahead with the eviction. Houle says a better option is to avoid the courts entirely.
If taxpayers are worried that the project is going to be held up and it's going to cost more, litigation is going to hold it up that much more, and it's going to cost that much more.
The region has a November 19th court date. The eviction is set for November 30th. Jeff Pickle, CTV News, Kitchener.
Next, some developing news we're following. A stabbing investigation bringing police to an area near a Kitchener high school this afternoon. Police tape surrounds an area near Kitchener-Waterloo Collegiate, or KCI. Regional police say one person was stabbed in the area and was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police were warning people that they would have a heavy presence in the area through the afternoon. That investigation is ongoing. Researchers are monitoring temperatures in the Great Lakes this summer. Warmer conditions can create potential hazards. With more on what they're looking for, here's CTV's Jerry Dewan.
It was a surge in Lake Erie's average surface temperatures that caught Mike McKay's attention, reaching around 27 degrees Celsius.
Last week, there was some growing concern as the temperatures were starting to reach what had been in recent years the highest temperature, for mid-July. That was 2020.
McKay is director of the Great Lakes Institute for Environmental Research at the University of Windsor. He says extreme heat warnings issued by health units in late June and early July also impacted the lake, with overnight temperatures in the 20s offering little relief. It created a rare phenomenon known as hypoxia.
Hypoxia is when usually deeper waters in the lake lose their oxygen.
That can have three impacts. The first is discolored water in the drinking water supply. Not dangerous, but not pleasant. It can also contribute to blue-green algae, with farm fertilizer stored in sediments on the lake bed getting stirred up and feeding the algae. The third issue is the impact on small creatures that are an important part of the food chain.
Which really is what drives the impressive fishery we have in Lake Erie. Lake Erie has roughly 2% of the water in the Great Lakes, but about 50% of the fish. So commercial fishery on the Canadian side, massive recreational fishery on the U.S. side.
With another surge in high temperatures expected, McKay says he and other researchers will be closely watching the impacts on the lake. Jerry DeWan, CTV News.
The city of Guelph is backing a bid by the Guelph Storm to host the 2027 Memorial Cup. If successful, the major hockey tournament would coincide with the city's bicentennial. CTV's Ashley Bacon has more.
Taking a shot at hosting the 2027 Memorial Cup.
And I think this is our last and possibly best chance to bid for the event, because it's just outgrowing buildings that are the size of the Siemens Center. There's a number of fantastic arenas in our league that have already been built where cities and teams haven't hosted.
The Guelph Storm putting their name in the hat to host the tournament for the second time. Holding the event in 2027 would coincide with the city's 200th birthday.
It can't just be the Guelph Storm bidding. It's got to be the city of Guelph bidding, because that's what it is. It's a national showcase, and we hope that we're, as a city, we're worthy of that.
We're pulling out all the stops that we can. The alignment with the 200th anniversary for our birthday, for the city, it just all kind of fits well. And so we're going to try our very, very best.
Council approving a motion to be financial contributors if the bid is successful, with the promise of funding from the municipal accommodation tax, a fee paid by tourists staying at local hotels.
We use it for tourism draw, for tourism events and things like that. So we're expecting to use up to $600,000 from that envelope that could go towards this event if it's successful in its bid.
The goal of coming together as a community, just as they did in 2002 when the Storm hosted the Cup.
I think the biggest change that we've seen is really the way our fan base has grown. And again, having been here as long as I have, I have had the pleasure of seeing kids that are now coming and bringing their kids.
As for when they'll learn if they've won the bid, that won't happen until the fall. The selection process will narrow the competition down throughout the summer, with the final decision expected in November. Ashley Bacon, CTV News.
As the music world mourns the loss of Ozzy Osbourne, who died yesterday, local fans are remembering the time when the Prince of Darkness made a stop in Kitchener exactly 44 years ago today. Let's bring in CTV's Colton Weens now for more on this. Colton, you spoke with some people who were at Ozzy's local show back on July the 23rd, 1981.
Yeah, that's right, Tony. And for them, it's a memory they won't ever forget. Osbourne had just been kicked out of Black Sabbath and was on his Blizzard of Oz tour for his debut studio album when he played center in the square 44 years ago today. And those who were there say it was a completely different energy in the venue than normal.
Seriously, that's the Scotch tape that I had when I had it taped to the wall of my bedroom.
Al Ridley still has the autographed program from when he saw Ozzy Osbourne play center in the square 44 years ago. Just 15 years old at the time, Ridley was part of a catering group at the event and saw the Prince of Darkness take the stage.
He wasn't this big, huge rock star. He didn't hold court, with his people. And seeing this guy out on stage who suddenly became somebody else, with the white jumpsuit and the white tassels off the arms and the screaming and this was the center in the square.
In a packed theater, Ridley recalls the fists and devil horns in the air and the deafening noise of the music and the crowd.
I was thinking like center in the square, everyone sits in their chairs and they're comfortable and they listen to like the KW orchestra or, cultural events. And here's this rock and roll madman.
And Ridley got an even closer look at the rising star, first seeing his friend's mom in the green room asking Osbourne to stop swearing so much, but later, a more personal experience.
Ozzy Osbourne and his manager come walking out, and they walk down the hall towards us. I thought, well, this is the opportunity. So I said, hey, Ozzy, can you sign my, my program? Yeah, sure, mate, sure. And he signs the program, gave me a pat on the shoulder, and walked on.
While Ridley didn't think too much of it at the time, it's a memory he cherishes to this day.
Here's my Ozzy book, and that's where I keep, just so you know, that's mine.
Owner of Encore Records Limited, Mark Logan, was also there in 1981, 17 years old and at the front of the packed crowd.
Ozzy, I remember, came out across the stage, shook hands. His hands were really sweaty. And I remember him standing at center stage, shaking and not really moving, like as he's known now for running around and clapping and, go crazy. He was pretty scared.
Calling his passing bittersweet, Logan says customers are now looking for Black Sabbath and Ozzy albums at the store, but as industry experts say, his legacy will always live on.
Every 16-year-old kid that picks up a guitar now is eventually going to get into Black Sabbath and Ozzy. That's just the power of the influence that they have.
Now, another person who attended this show in 1981 tells me expectations were high and Ozzy delivered, saying they recall the theater didn't book any rock shows for quite a while after that. Last night, artists like Alice Cooper, Coldplay, and Lady Gaga performed tributes for Osbourne in their respective shows. And despite the moniker Prince of Darkness, Osbourne's influence in all music lives on. Tony.
Certainly does, Colton, and some great local memories there, too. Appreciate that. CTV's Colton Weens joining us live. Well, stay connected with us through the CTV Kitchener newsletter. Local content from our newsroom right to your inbox. Every morning, a look at the day's top stories, the latest forecast, and some must-see videos. Just head to our website to sign up, ctvnewskitchener.ca. Revolutionizing recoveries with some made-in-Kitchener medical technology. Coming up, CTV's Spencer Turcott on a breakthrough that's bringing a game-changing device to hospitals close to home.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
We go to a dramatic scene unfolding.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. ctvkitchener.ca, your home for news. When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400. From your screen to ours. Text 10400.
A mall in Cambridge was closed today because of a water main break. Signs were in store windows telling customers the mall would be closed until repairs were completed. Construction crews were ripping out concrete and working on underground pipes outside one of the entrances this afternoon. The extent of the damage is not clear. Well, dozens of Guelph residents are making their pitches to fill a vacant seat on City Council. The Ward 6 seat has been open since the former councillor switched to federal politics back in the spring. Councillors are deciding on a replacement tonight. CTV's Heather Centerin has been following a special meeting where that's all happening right now. Heather, a total of 26 candidates have begun to make their pitches.
The meeting started at 4, Tony, but there's a lot to get through. As you say, there are 26 candidates to choose from. Each one has 5 minutes to address council before voting begins.
This is really interesting, right?
One by one, 26 candidates are taking turns trying to convince council to let them fill the vacant council seat.
It's not about ideology or different things. I think what people are yearning for is good government, good people in those positions so that people have the confidence that they know that their tax dollars are being spent in a judicious manner.
I live in the ward this role will serve because community engagement has been my life's work. And finally, because I intend to make this role my full-time job, giving it the full care and commitment government that this council and the residents of Ward 6 deserve.
The seat became vacant after Dominique O'Rourke was elected MP for Guelph in the federal election.
Council will basically work through in alphabetical order by last name and vote on their preferred candidate. They get one vote per sort of first round or each round of voting. And so the first individual to secure 7 votes will be the selected candidate.
There were other ways this could have played out. A by-election or by choosing a runner-up from the last municipal election. But council opted to go with the appointment process.
I think it's unfortunate because it looks like you're applying to become a member of the club. And it's not a club, it's a political organization.
This retired political professor says he hopes councillors keep an open mind.
They're not likely to choose somebody who says, I think this council is doing a terrible job and I want to address some issues and bring about some change. I doubt very much a council wants to hear that. But maybe they should hear it.
One councillor admits having councillors choose wasn't his favorite option, but it makes sense.
We're put in the awkward position of selecting a colleague rather than electing one. And it's because, realistically, the person has 8 to 10 months of work experience before the next election. So ideally, I would in some ways like to have a person who is not seeking re-election.
There's other things he's looking for.
Being sensitive to planning issues, being mindful of taxation, but not putting taxation as the first priority in a city that is quickly growing.
The special council meeting is expected to be a long one.
If I can sneak a pillow in, maybe I will. Hopefully we will be done quickly, but democracy sometimes moves slowly.
Although the meeting might take a few hours, once a candidate is chosen, the rest of it will move pretty fast as they will be sworn in right away and will be able to join the meeting as a sitting city councillor. Tony.
Okay, we'll keep an eye on that process. Heather Senerin joining us live. Thanks, Heather. The Ontario Hospital Association is out with a new report. It warns efforts to find efficiencies in the healthcare system can only go so far. The report says Ontario spends just over $1,900 per person for hospital funding, the lowest of any province. The OHA says the province would have to spend another $4.4 billion per year if spending matched the national average. But the report says it is not realistic to expect any further efficiencies using traditional approaches as the population grows and ages and cost pressures rise. The association says thoughtful planning is needed to expand hospital capacity and invest in innovative approaches to shape the future of Ontario healthcare. Imagine being able to get up and walk just 30 minutes after a hip or knee surgery, or climbing stairs just an hour later. A Kitchener company's technology is making that possible, and as CTV's Spencer Turcotte tells us, local hospitals are about to get on board with it.
Our system is extremely robust and quite unique.
It's a groundbreaking innovation created by University of Waterloo alumni.
At IntelliJoint Surgical, we help orthopedic surgeons doing hip and knee replacements.
Armin Bakurtsian co-founded the company in 2010, inspired by his father's work as an orthopedic surgeon. He saw gaps in care.
Of course, they're human. It's very difficult to measure degrees, single degrees, or single millimeters by eye, or using their training and their judgments.
So he created IntelliJoint, a sort of computer-assisted navigation system that improves surgical outcomes in hip and knee replacements.
Anywhere in the middle is good.
It uses a miniature optical camera to deliver real-time, precise measurements.
So at this point, then they would save.
It also reduces the need for invasive and costly repeat surgeries.
Patients don't have the wrong length of leg, for example, after surgery, which unfortunately does happen 50% of the time if technology is not used.
IntelliJoint's technology has been used in more than 70,000 surgeries in multiple countries over the last 15 years. But getting approval for use in Canada has taken time.
It's a difficult journey to be accepted by the Ontario healthcare system.
But recently, a big breakthrough.
We're very fortunate that our local hospital, Waterloo Region, has access to IntelliJoint's technologies.
While access is limited across other health networks, they hope it'll continue to grow in the right direction. And their argument is simple.
If you have access to a ruler or to a level, why wouldn't you use it to put up a shelf? I mean, that's the logic that we use.
Spencer Turcotte, CTV News Kitchener.
All right, taking a live look outside right now, a very sunny Wednesday evening, and as you probably noticed today, it's been getting hotter each day this week. We are expecting some more humidity to roll in as the week comes to a close, so this isn't the hottest we'll have seen it yet by the end of the week. The weather is coming up. Also ahead, a plan to temporarily transform a trail in Waterloo into a tribute to some local veterans. CTV's Karis Map will tell us what to expect with that. But next, all business in cottage country, what Canada's premiers have agreed on at a meeting in Muskoka where they've been hashing out plans for the trade war. Welcome back. Leanne is here with a look at our forecast. And actually, I got the heads up from you earlier today. You were out for a walk and you messaged me and you said, wow, it's getting hot out. Whew. And it was just in the couple of hours since I had been out late in the morning that it really heated up today. Feels like we're turning into that humid spell we were expecting.
Yeah, and we've been warned about that heat and humidity really coming this week. You really noticed it. I think I messaged you around the 2 o'clock hour. You really noticed it then. It was getting
picked up
really hot out there. And that's just a little sign of kind of what's to come as well. Nice to be up here with you. It's been a minute.
It's been a hot minute for sure.
Yeah.
It has been quite a while, but hey, summer is the time of musical chairs.
Yeah, it certainly
And we are certainly embodying that today.
Yes, it is. Okay, we are going to get to the forecast. Let's take a live look outside this hour, that sunshine. If you did get to spend some time outside today, hopefully you had lots of water with you and the sunscreen on as well, because boy, like we said, was it ever hot. But we cannot complain because summer is so short-lived here in southern Ontario. So we really need to take it all in. We just need to be safe while we do so. Okay, heat warnings in effect, expected to begin into the day tomorrow. Another hot day on the horizon. The areas in pink already under that extreme heat warning in through the GTA, through Hamilton into Brantford as well. Tomorrow, daytime highs expected to get up to 35 degrees. Now that is before you even factor in the humidity. So another very hot day on the horizon. Drink lots of water, wear your sunscreen as well. Actually, in fact, up to this point through Toronto's Pearson Airport, 14 days have already recorded above 30 degrees so far this summer. So tomorrow expected to be another one of those days to add to that list as we get into our Thursday afternoon. Let's take a look at what the futurecast holds as well. So a little bit of cloud cover. It should be a little bit hazy through the day tomorrow as we expect that heat to move in as well. And then a system is moving through Thursday night. You can see at times we're going to see pockets of heavier rainfall as well, especially through the GTA in towards London. If you're down in the Chatham-Kent Windsor area, you may notice some thunder showers into the overnight hours through Thursday. Friday morning, end of the week, looking beautiful as we are approaching the mid-morning mark. Possible passing shower if you're north of Waterloo Region into the midday on Friday. And by Friday night, perfect, clear skies, great night to get outside, maybe have a barbecue, hit up a patio, enjoy some local festivals in and around Waterloo Region. 29 degrees this hour in KW. It's 28 through London. Many communities holding on to those high 20s, but when we do factor in that humidity that we have been talking about, 32 degrees is what it feels like here locally in Waterloo Region. We did get up to that daytime high of 29 degrees. Normal for this time of year, 26, so a little bit warmer than the average temperature. Record 34 degrees set back in 1933. That's kind of what it felt like when we factored in that humidity. Overnight tonight, 15 degrees, few clouds like we mentioned. By tomorrow, 33 degrees, feeling like 41. Factoring that humidity, when you factor in the humidity, the UV index will be at 9, so very high. Lather the sunscreen on. You might even need an umbrella to get a little bit of shade as well, especially if you're heading to any beaches or areas with a water. Okay, 7-day forecast looks like this. Possible passing shower that we mentioned Friday, but it won't be a washout. Should be a beautiful day to get outside and enjoy the weekend. Also looking very good as well. In Lambton, Kent, and Essex, a very hot day there tomorrow, 35 degrees before the Humidex. Weekend looking pretty good, too, in your area. And in southern Georgian Bay, 30 degrees forecast for Thursday, 24 Friday, so a little bit on the cooler. I guess we can't say cool, but a little bit milder. By the weekend, 27 degrees Saturday, 28 Sunday, sun and cloud. Perfect end of July weekend, Tony.
You know what Saturday looks like it's going to be?
What?
Another good pool day.
Another good pool day. Do you have pool plans?
I do have pool plans again this weekend.
That's great. You're lucky. You want to be by the water when it's this hot.
You really do. And the trend that we're following is last week, Saturday looked like it was going to be dicey, and then as the week went on, it got better. I think we're following that pattern this week, too.
I know, but we can't let that weather ruin our pool parties. We don't have that many left this summer.
No, we don't. We have limited number of weeks. All right, thanks, Leanne.
Thank you.
Canada's premiers met for the final day of their 3-day summit in Muskoka. They are working to shore up the economy by removing interprovincial trade barriers and boosting trade with other countries. Well, talks today shifted to healthcare and public safety. CTV's Rachel Aiello has a summary of what was discussed and what was accomplished.
Premiers wrapped 3 days of talks about building up the economy and tearing down internal trade barriers united against a common enemy.
We have a crisis in Canada about Donald Trump attacking us. We're trying to protect our economy.
With a former ambassador who briefed premiers yesterday, revealing today that reaching a deal by August 1st is highly unlikely.
It's complex and it may take longer, and I think it probably will.
One premier conceded that they'd now consider an agreement on sectoral irritants, such as autos and lumber, in the next 9 days, a win.
I mean, I'm watching Truth Social along with everyone else because things could change in 5 minutes.
Premiers also committed to taking at least one trade mission to another province or territory in the coming year.
We have our points of disagreement, but there are far more points of agreement in terms of how we're going to build our economies in our respective provinces.
And while the trade war with the U.S. dominated this week's discussions, today premiers also carved out time to tackle a pair of other pressing domestic issues. Public safety, including pushing the Prime Minister on bail reform.
We need to, greatly stiffen the sentence, not only for those repeat offenders, but for those that are bringing these poisonous drugs into our communities across Canada.
And strengthening Canada's strained healthcare system.
If we want to say that we're standing up to Donald Trump and we're never going to be the 51st state, let's make sure that our universal healthcare system is strong.
While Canada's premiers and the Prime Minister have come away from these talks largely on the same page, when it comes to fixing the immigration system, Premier Ford made it clear today he thinks the federal government has more work to do. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Huntsville, Ontario.
Well, we know since Donald Trump's announcement of a deal to reduce tariffs from 25% to 15% on imported Japanese goods, there's been some relief on the markets. The question, though, how does this play into not just Canada's negotiations, but the health of the auto industry? CTV's Abigail Beeman has a closer look at the implications and the uncertainty.
CTV News caught up with the Canadian Automobile Dealers Association in between meetings on Capitol Hill. Hugh Williams has logged more than 30 with lawmakers and the U.S. administration and is feeling encouraged about a trade deal, but not for the August 1st deadline.
Senior senators, have given us the pathfinding that they're optimistic that we're going to have some framework of a deal that will resolve the trading problems between our nations, ideally by Labor Day.
He says it would be unreasonable for Canada to have an agreement that looks worse than the new U.S.-Japan deal that sees auto tariffs cut to 15% from 27.5%.
That deal has a lot of attention in the Senate and congressional leaders that we've been talking to. And I think that the prevailing view is that Canada should have a better deal.
President Trump is finally putting a stop to our country getting ripped off.
But this week, as a result of Trump's tariffs, General Motors reported a 35% decline in second quarter profits with more hard times ahead, and Stellantis a $2.7 billion net loss in the first half of the year.
We're down about 30% in exports already this year from Canada in vehicles.
Flavio Volpe says he's taken aback by the 15% the Japanese agreed to, and it wouldn't work for Canada.
It's a bad deal. Better to slog it out than to lock in bad terms in the long term.
But it's still a good, valuable piece of insight
into what might be achievable, and what's the U.S. kind of baseline minimum tariff that might have to stick.
And this afternoon, multiple reports that the European Union is heading towards a similar tariff deal with the U.S. than Japan, a 15% tariff on EU imports into the United States, including autos. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
A scorching summer in Manitoba could end up burning through grocery budgets. Coming up, a look at how a heat emergency on Western farms could be felt closer to where we live. A lack of rain and hot conditions have been having a massive impact on farmers in Manitoba, where communities have declared states of emergency as crops are heavily impacted. CTV's Alex Carp tells us what it could mean for consumers across the country.
This corn should be considerably higher than this.
Lyle Thorgilson has not seen his fields this bad in years. Drought conditions in Manitoba are severely impacting his crops.
You can see the yellowing of the plant here and stuff. That's drought stress.
For perspective, this is what Thorgilson's cornfield looked like in 2023. And this is what it looks like now. Significant damage done due to little rain.
It's probably one of the tougher crops, and there's still maybe hope that we can get some tonnage out of it for feed for the cattle. But yeah, it's stunted for sure.
From a distance, this oat field looks like it's thriving, but in reality, as you could see, it's not. In parts of this field, the oat is barely growing, a problem that many farmers are dealing with right across the province. 2 rural municipalities in the province declared states of emergency last week due to the agricultural disaster.
It's not good, and we need a lot of rain.
It's not just farmers in Manitoba hurting, so too are many in Saskatchewan, with communities in that province also declaring states of emergencies. Virgil Johnson says it's not just people who will be affected, but livestock too.
We're not sure how far-reaching these conditions are, and where the local producers are going to be able to source feed to carry them through the winter to maintain the herds they have.
In addition to the drought, smoke from wildfires could gravely impact food products moving forward, but one expert says it's too early to tell how this will affect consumers at the grocery store.
Smoke could actually impact the quality of grains at harvest, and that could also impact the revenues of farmers in the end, and they could get less money for their product.
We've had to put more money into these crops than usual.
As for Thorgilson, he is praying more rain falls so he can salvage some of his crop. Alex Carp, CTV News, Lundar, Manitoba.
Time now to recap our top stories. Alexandra Hollick is in studio with us tonight as we look at a story surrounding the region of Waterloo being urged to rethink its plan to evict people who've been living at an encampment in Kitchener.
That's right, Tony, and it comes in the form of an open letter from Canada's first federal housing advocate, who says the region's plan to evict falls short of its human rights obligations. The regionally owned land is part of the long-awaited transit hub project at the corner of King and Victoria. The region says they are waiting on direction from the Ontario Superior Court on whether they can move ahead with the eviction. And we're learning a few more details in a stabbing investigation that brought a heavy police presence to a Kitchener high school this afternoon. This happened near KCI, where regional police say one person was stabbed in the area of King and Green Streets. They were taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police say the people involved are known to each other. The investigation is ongoing, and there is no concern for public safety.
And Alexandra, looking at what our digital team is working on our website, a segment on rejuvenating your summer skincare routine.
Yes, today on CTV News at 5, Nurse Grace popped by the studio to give us some advice, from facial treatments to proper day and nighttime routines to keep your skin hydrated. You can watch the full video online by scanning the QR code on the bottom left of your screen to get the story on our CTV News app, or download the app right now. You can also visit our website, ctvnewskitchener.ca. Tony.
Alexandra Hollick live in studio with us. Thank you very much. In Waterloo, a new initiative is going to honor those who fought for freedom. Veterans with ties to the city will be displayed on commemorative banners ahead of Remembrance Day along a popular trail. CTV's Karis Mapp reports.
Now empty, the poles along Spurline Trail and Uptown Waterloo will soon hang commemorative banners for Waterloo veterans. The banners will be hung in October and remain up until after Remembrance Day. The Veterans Banner Program, launching in partnership with the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 530 and the City of Waterloo and BIA.
I've been thinking about it for a few years and discussed it around the branch in Waterloo.
It was essentially near Remembrance Day of last year that I had the conversation with Mr. Champion. And so I literally brought it up in the council chambers.
After getting the green light, the branch is now accepting submissions. The first 16 submitted veterans who fought during World War I will have their cost covered. Families will then be responsible to front the $150 for the banners, a small price to pay when preserving history.
The veterans from the Second World War are quickly passing away. There's very few of them left. And when they're gone, it's a whole generation that the younger people never get to hear their stories firsthand.
Also proving to be a project of passion for organizers.
My father was a World War II veteran. I joined the military back in the 80s during the Cold War, served overseas for 4 years back then, and now I'm presently serving as a combat engineer. Veterans serve their country, serve their community, should not be forgotten.
The Veterans Banner Program isn't new to the region. Legions in Cambridge have been coordinating the initiative for years, including right here in Hespeler at Branch 272.
We knew that Hespeler had a lot of veterans in the community, and it's part of the act of remembrance as well, and getting the stories and the pictures and the banners out to the community.
Starting with only 6 banners during their first year in 2018, the Hespeler Legion now dons 92 in the branch until they're ready to be hung in the downtown core.
It actually sometimes brings tears to your eyes, and sometimes I'll get posts on Facebook, I'll get letters back from people just, they bring their family when they bring them into town over the remembrance period. I'm excited about Waterloo going ahead and putting it up.
Anyone interested in getting involved with the program can contact the Legion Branch 530. Karis Mapp, CTV News, Waterloo.
Coming up, a curveball is thrown into some summer baseball plans. The discovery in St. Mary's that's closed 2 local diamonds. Community leaders in St. Mary's have been forced to shut down 2 baseball diamonds. The land they're on is an old cemetery dating back to the late 1800s. CTV's Sean Irvin has more on the due diligence that led to the grave discovery.
Behind a baseball diamond sits a stack of tombstones representing the lives of settlers who passed generations ago. This is one of 2 sections of stones on the edges of the vast East Ward Park in St. Mary's. The stones have rested here since the early 60s, when service clubs cleaned up an abandoned, overgrown cemetery and turned it into a park. David Vesey has lived next door since 1952. He used to play in the weeds amongst the collapsed graves.
When you were little, were there a lot more tombstones around here?
Oh, yeah. All these here and all down at the end were all over the place.
But over time, most people in St. Mary's quietly forgot the dead still rest below. Although some were moved in the 1880s, the town recently learned many settlers remain.
We believe that there are still quite a few bodies that are here.
The information was discovered in an act of good faith. St. Mary's is attempting to assume ownership of land from 3 Protestant churches, 2 of which no longer exist. As part of the process, they contacted the Bereavement Authority of Ontario, an arm's-length government agency for insight. That call sparked an inspection and ultimately a violation against the town.
And that's when it became identified that they didn't know that we were using it for active recreation currently.
Once notified of the violation, the town put an immediate stop to baseball games being played at this diamond. For now, the playground up the ridge continues to be used. The BAO is expected to issue a final ruling by the end of summer. Until then,
so we're maintaining the land and trying to make it a great space for people and to be respectful.
The town anticipates residents will be allowed to use the park for light uses, including picnics and reflection in the future.
We have, operated without any disrespect to anyone and made a good use of the land. We thought, but we'll have to see what the BAO says going forward.
As for David, well, he's torn.
It is a graveyard, which is, we've got to respect that. But what harm are they doing? You know, they're only kids playing t-ball.
In St. Mary's, Sean Irvin, CTV News.
There are concerns in the local fishing community after a potentially record-setting catch on Lake Huron. It's not the size of the fish that's worrying locals, but the species. Scott Miller has more on the potential damage that grass carp can cause.
Right here. Yep, I've got a waypoint on this rock.
Richard Elliott thought he'd seen it all in his nearly 5 decades of fishing, but last week he caught a fish he'd never ever seen before.
I'm 65 now and I've never seen a grass carp, and I was hoping I never would see them. We don't want them in Ontario.
Only 33 of these invasive species have ever been caught on the Canadian side of the Great Lakes since 2012, and only a handful of those were caught in Lake Huron. This may also have been the largest grass carp ever caught in the Canadian Great Lakes, Elliott believes. At more than 48 inches long and 30 inches around its belly, this behemoth weighed more than 58 pounds.
To see one that big was kind of awesome.
Elliott immediately alerted the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, who sent a crew down that day. They took samples and planned to return to the area next month to study the area off the shores of the Bruce Power nuclear plant where Elliott found the grass carp, belly up, but still alive.
I was with a buddy's wife fishing and I was pretty excited about it, saying like, wow, this is crazy. And she just kind of, yeah, whatever. But then when the crew got here and saw the excitement there, she goes like, man, this is a big deal. And I thought, yeah, I think it's a big deal.
Well, it is an amazing catch. It's not one Elliott wanted to make. That's because the grass carp is an invasive species. It's invaded some U.S. waterways, causing environmental disaster. So it's not a fish fishermen want to catch in the Great Lakes.
It's just not a good thing to have. And they do really outcompete our native species because they're not supposed to be here. There's no predators for them. They just grow like crazy.
Elliott says while he's now got an amazing story to tell about the time he caught one of the biggest, if not the biggest, grass carp ever caught in the Great Lakes, he's been told by the Department of Fisheries and Oceans that he may just find another one soon enough.
There is a camera out here that they've had out different times, and they actually have video of two of them. So there's at least one more here. So, yeah, and I hear that they're possibly coming up in August to do more studies in the water.
In Bruce County, Scott Miller, CTV News.
Here's what's coming up tonight on CTV National News.
Tonight, concert controversy.
We just don't feel that that's where Canadians want to go. And if this gentleman wants to promote that message, he's welcome to do that in his own country.
Where Parks Canada pulled the plug on a permit for an American musician and why. Later on CTV National News.
Dangerous heat and humidity about to spread back into southern Ontario as we end off the work week, with heat warnings already in play for tomorrow. We'll find out what's coming up tomorrow morning in Wake Up Weather.
Here's what's on CTV tonight at 7 o'clock. It's E-Talk before The Big Bang Theory. Then at 8, Master Chef before Match Game at 9. And at 10, Battle of the Generations.
It's Jeff, KP, and Backstage Ben in the morning.
3 awesome people that want to start your day or finish your overnight shift.
You'll laugh, you'll text, you'll call, you'll scratch your head, and maybe even beat Backstage Ben. Weekday mornings from 5:30 to 10.
Listen live on the iHeartRadio app or at 105.3 Virgin Radio.
We're going to rejoin Alexandra Hollick one more time with a look at a story that our team is watching for later tonight. Alexandra.
Tony, voting is underway at Guelph City Council to fill the vacant Ward 6 seat. 26 people put their names forward, with many of them making their pitch to council earlier tonight. The seat became empty in the spring after the sitting councillor's departure for federal politics. Once a candidate is chosen, they will be sworn in right away and participate in the meeting. We'll have more on who's been selected later at 11:30. Tony?
Okay, we'll look ahead to that update. Alexandra, thank you so much for that. And Leanne's back with us at the desk one more time for a look at Wake Up Weather. I keep feeling like Friday is tomorrow, but it's not. I don't know.
You're not quite there, Tony.
I don't know why I have that feeling.
Today's Wednesday.
Yeah,
so
but in
a few days.
in my defense, first 5-day work week in a while.
I know.
With summer vacations.
It's summer, hey, and you take those long weekends. You got 3-4 day work weeks, depending on what kind of vacations you're going on. It's
and then
tough stuff.
Suddenly 5. Actually, it's 6 for me this week, but suddenly 5 feels like a long week. Anyhow, we've got some real summer-like conditions on the way for tomorrow.
Yes, we do, and it is going to be so hot and humid tomorrow. The morning, very nice, actually, when you're waking up. I've been getting up a little bit earlier, so 6 a.m., 19 degrees. It's perfect for going for a bike ride, taking the dog for a walk, just heading outside. Great conditions when we're waking up at sunrise tomorrow morning. However, as you can see, by 10 a.m., 27 degrees. The heat and humidity will be feeling it by early tomorrow morning, so it can be dangerous, right? We got to make sure we're staying hydrated through the day tomorrow. 33 degrees daytime high. That's the expected daytime high tomorrow. We'll feel like 41 when we factor in the humidex. So, yeah, we got to be careful and protect ourselves from that heat and humidity.
Back to what we felt kind of at the end of June, early July.
Yeah.
Those conditions.
You can kind of enjoy it if you're by the water, though, right?
Yes. And if you're watching a ball game.
Yes.
Always.
Were you watching the ball game last night?
I was watching a ball game in here last night up on the monitor. The Jays, of course, lost to the Yankees. It was a close one, but they lost to the Yankees last night.
Yeah, but it wasn't all a loss. The organization, they won big when it came to the concession stands. It set a single game record for hot dog sales at the ballpark. So fans bought more than 84,700 loony dogs. That surpasses the previous record of more than 76,600 set in 2023.
Wow.
Just a couple of years ago.
Yes. Loony Dog nights are actually held on Tuesdays for those home games, and they've been a huge hit. Setting the record last night was no doubt helped by the fact that there was a big crowd on hand for that crucial game against the Yankees. Both teams squaring off in what's really becoming a pennant race, and actually the Jays on top of the American League right now, not just their division.
So lots of fans in Toronto heading out to the game, maybe even more so than you'd usually get on a Tuesday night. But also, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you think a lot of Yankees fans were there too?
Well, I saw a couple.
More people buying in?
I saw a couple in the shots, but I don't know. I think the Jays fan nation outweighs them by a long shot. I wanted to touch on Loony Dogs, though, because I was at a Loony Dog night last year, and I had 3. And I thought that was a lot.
Nice.
But our very own Alexandra Hollick was at one recently and had 5 Loony Dogs.
She said that.
If you can believe that.
That's pretty incredible.
She also gave me her permission to share that.
Yeah. She's tiny, too.
Yes, she is.
She had 5 Loony Dogs.
That is a good Loony Dog night.